Brock Purdy having to go back to the scene of the crime early, very early on. Reddick got a nice hit on him, took him down. They got the sack, and it was like, oh man, here we go. How's this going to look? And he delivered, man. He absolutely delivered. You can't not be happy for that. I mean, the smile on his face at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, when they zoomed and panned the camera over to him, you could just tell the sense of relief, like, oh my gosh, I got out of here, and I got out of here healthy. And a little bit of poetic justice for me. And I'm glad that Jalen Hurts is fine. I'm glad he was able to return. I don't wish injury on anybody. That being said, him having to leave that game, even for a couple plays, to me, there was a lot of symbolism there as far as what had to happen last year going into this game. And I am glad that he's good to go. I like Jalen Hurts. Don't like Philly, but I do like Jalen Hurts. And like I said, I don't wish injury on anybody, but him having to leave that game, to me, was like pulling the full monkey off the back for Brock Purdy having to leave the way that he did last year. And I'm very happy for him as well. Overall, what did you think about Brock Purdy in his game?
Look, you know exactly where I stand on Brock Purdy over the last several year plus. Brock Purdy has elevated his game to the point where, like I said, the confidence, people can say, I don't even know if I would use the word confidence anymore. I don't think Brock is just, he is unflappable. Does he make mistakes? Look, I'm going to say this. I'm all in on Brock. There's no way, like, Brock is that dude. Like, I really believe that now. Like, I think that he is a guy that, like you said, 3 and out, right? Defenses bends, doesn't break. And you're early in the game, like you said, Reddick lays just a knock on him. Another play shot. Here's who Purdy is. Inside the red zone. He's running. He's scrambling. I can't remember if it was 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10 or whatever it was. Bradley Roby comes in and actually doesn't put a bad hit on it. Like a lot of quarterbacks of his, like, he hits him, he nails him right in the quads. And Brock has this ability to kind of absorb it, where he kind of like dipped his hips, and it was like he was looking up the whole way. He wasn't looking like, oh my God, I'm going to get nailed by this, big corner. Like, he was just like 5-yard pick. Like, that's who Brock is, man. Like, this guy has ice in his veins. I don't want to go into too much hyperbole and embellishment, but like, the bottom line is he's not a weakness. I think there's this idea, and this is the thing where, Jesse, I totally respect what you're talking about the first 2 drives. That being said, hey, we can't sit here and say we believe Brock's the guy and then be mad at Kyle for putting the ball in his hands. That's what we've been wanting for a long time as 49ers fans.
Oh, yeah.
We've been wanting a quarterback that is absolutely a guy that Kyle Shanahan, the coach that probably trusts the slowest of any coach in the NFL. Like, Kyle is one of those dudes that, like, I feel like Kyle's like relaxed. I think that Kyle's like, okay, I can do this. I'm not gonna panic on 3 and outs. My whole offense is ready to go. And after those drives, there was not a punt. Was that it? Those are the only 2 punts, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like so. Yeah,
6 touchdowns, baby.
Yeah,
6
I think so.
Touchdowns.
I think so. Yeah.
6. When's the last time the 49ers scored 6 touchdowns?
Just boom, 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 boom.
And they never. So look, Purdy, to me right now, I said this. I tweeted this out before, and I said, like, this is a potentially career-defining game for Brock Purdy. He shredded his elbow. I mean, think about this. He shreds his elbow at the link, right? Last year, he comes back faster than people thought he would, and me included. He comes back to this very place where the Eagles and Nick Sirianni and Ari Myrov and everybody else is like comparing him to Michael Jordan against this vaunted front 7. And it's 4 touchdowns and another like nearly perfect quarterback rating, which I know we don't really care about quarterback ratings, but still, like, it showed through on the tape, right? I don't know what this kid needs to do at this point. And no doubt about it, Yak was yakking today. But we can talk more about that too.
Yak was yakking. It definitely was yakking, but I mean, it was a complete It was a complete offensive performance. The defense was very, very good, very, very good, and answered some questions for me in the secondary. But they weren't as complete as the offense in the sense that really, I think the secondary kind of carried things a little bit today, which was it's great to see that because it did answer that question of can they do that if the front four is not getting home, and they weren't getting home, and they were able to do a good job for the most part. But the offense was complete and utter dominance after the first quarter. First quarter, again, was about as bad as it could have been, but it didn't hold them back. It didn't stop them from putting up 40 plus freaking points. And I had the score. I thought that they would come in and they would play well and pass well in particular. I did think that they would pass well. That was like one of the things that I talked about. Eagles secondary is not that great, but 31-23 was the final score I had. Putting up 40 plus, I mean, dude.
I had 30-23 with some comeback field goals for the Eagles. I long said that this Eagles defense, they're just not that good. Like I hate to break it to you. Their front four is solid, but they were getting gouged too. They're undisciplined. Bradbury and Slay did absolutely nothing today. Their safeties are not good. Their linebackers are horrible in coverage. This team is not built for a playoff run defensively. That's why, I mean, the Eagles were in it last year because of Jalen Hurts and his legs. And the Chiefs, I mean, I'm just saying, like, this, people might bookmark this if they see it in their Philly. I got no problem facing Philly again. I want to face a defense like that again. But I'll say it again. I want to see Philly again because I don't fear I really don't fear their defense. And another thing, offense is on the Chiron going underneath. Our offensive line, the first two series were like, oh man, this is dicey. Even the third one. After that went on though, Crocker was kind of tweeting out. I was like, they don't look that bad. Like they really came to play. A couple times, Colton McKivitz in the first two drives where Brock kind of stepped into a sack. No, not really any fault of his, but McKivitz is just kind of doing what he could. I'm going to say, like, we know the offensive line is the Achilles heel, but 42 points. I mean,
it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I had some people, and I won't say any names, but some people in this chat that I talk to pretty regularly, they were freaking out in my DMs after those first two drives. I'm like, listen, it's okay. The fact that they held them to 3, they're in this game, and all they need on this third drive is a touchdown. And all of a sudden it wipes away everything that has happened. Everything bad that has happened, it wipes it all away. And that's exactly what happened. And then it was just a boat race from there. Let's get to these super chats because there's a ton, and I want to make sure that we get to the rest of our content as well. Twisted Clown says, wow, what a dominating win. Don't much like Greenlaw getting carried away. Pop at the end. Yummy. Yeah, I didn't either. To me, it was one of those situations, and it did light a fire under Philadelphia. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, it just wasn't going to matter. But it was an unnecessary thing that he does. He's always towing the line, and I love Dre Greenlaw. But man, getting ejected in that game, if that game had turned around and gotten interesting, it would have been one of those things that we talked about in a very negative fashion. Luckily, we're not going to have to bring it up really other than this comment, but it's not a good thing. That can't happen in the playoffs. I'll say that. He's very Draymond Green, right? Like he just is very Draymond Green of him.